Picture this. It's a quiet evening. You're lying in bed staring at the ceiling, and your mind starts doing that thing it does. You start mentally tallying up where you stand. The savings account that never seems to grow fast enough. The career that feels like it plateaued 3 years ago. The retirement plan you keep meaning to take seriously, but somehow never do. Then you open your phone, and someone from college just posted about closing on an investment property. Another guy you barely know is talking about financial independence like it's a casual weekend hobby. And suddenly, that ceiling you're staring at feels a lot lower. If you're anywhere near 40, you've had some version of this moment. And I want to be straight with you. That feeling, as uncomfortable as it is, might be the most valuable thing that's ever happened to your finances. Because discomfort is where change begins. My name is Dre, and I break down money. Not just the math, but the mental side, the habits, the blind spots, the stories we tell ourselves that keep us stuck. Stick around until the end, because what we're about to cover could shift how you think about the next 2 decades. So let's get into it. What should you realistically have accomplished by 40 when it comes to money and career? And what do you do if you're nowhere close? Let's start with reality, because the internet version of a 40-year-old's finances is basically fiction. You'd think everyone your age has a six-figure portfolio, a home with equity, and passive income rolling in while they sleep. The truth is dramatically different. Federal Reserve data shows that a huge percentage of adults in this country could not handle a surprise $400 expense without borrowing or selling something. That's not just people in their 20s figuring things out. That includes people deep into middle age. The median retirement balance for households in the 45 to 54 range sits around $100,000. That might sound reasonable until you realize it covers maybe 3 to 4 years of basic living once you stop working. And remember, median means half of all households have less than that. So if you're feeling behind, understand this first. You're standing in an enormous crowd. The system we operate in was never built to make wealth building intuitive or easy. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. It means you have to be deliberate where others coast. Here's what a solid financial foundation actually looks like at 40, based on what planners and researchers consistently recommend. Number 1, an emergency reserve. 3 to 6 months of core living costs in a high-yield savings account. Not in the market, not locked in a retirement account, just boring, accessible cash. Because something always breaks. Jobs disappear, medical bills land, cars die. This fund prevents one bad month from becoming a financial spiral. Number 2, a net worth checkpoint. A widely referenced guideline says that by 40, your total savings and investments should be somewhere around 2 to 3 times your yearly income. So if you earn $80,000, you'd ideally be sitting on somewhere between $160,000 and $240,000 across all your accounts. That's not a finish line. It's a signal that compound growth has enough fuel to do serious work over the next 25 years. Number 3, more than one source of income. This doesn't mean you need to be running a business empire on the side. It means having at least one additional channel where money flows in beyond your main paycheck. Freelance consulting, rental income, dividend payments, a small digital product. Anything that proves you can create value independently. Because depending entirely on one employer for every dollar you earn is one of the most fragile positions you can put yourself in. Number 4, high-interest debt eliminated. By 40, credit card balances and high-rate personal loans should be history. Mortgage debt is a different category because it's typically low interest and attached to an appreciating asset. But carrying $15,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest is like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain wide open. Every cent going to interest is a cent that will never compound in your favor. Number 5, financial systems that run without you thinking about them. Automatic contributions to investment accounts, a spending framework you actually follow, quarterly reviews of where your money is going. The people who build real wealth over time aren't financial geniuses. They've just built routines that remove willpower from the equation. Now, if you just read through that list and felt your stomach drop because you're missing most of it, stay with me. Because understanding why people fall behind matters just as much as knowing the targets. Life is not a clean spreadsheet. Some people entered the workforce right into a recession. Some dealt with medical crises, divorces, or a string of choices that seemed fine at the time but compounded into a real deficit. Behavioral research shows something fascinating. When someone is operating in survival mode, their brain physically reduces its capacity for long-term planning. It's not laziness, it's neuroscience. Financial pressure narrows your cognitive bandwidth, and the system has gotten objectively harder. Housing costs relative to wages have ballooned. Healthcare can erase years of savings overnight. Education costs have outpaced income growth by a wide margin. But here is the part that should give you energy. At 40, you still have roughly 25 years before traditional retirement age. That is a legitimate runway. Not as long as someone starting at 25, but absolutely long enough to create a completely different outcome. Let me put numbers to it. Say you're 40 today with essentially nothing saved. If you can put away $500 a month into a diversified portfolio, returning roughly 7% annually after inflation, you'd accumulate close to $400,000 over 25 years. Push it to $1,000 a month under the same conditions, and you're approaching $800,000. Factor in Social Security and maybe some part-time work you enjoy in your 60s, and suddenly you've got a genuinely workable retirement. Not extravagant, but stable and dignified. If you're catching up, though, you can't just match the standard advice. Financial planners typically suggest saving 15% of income for retirement. If you're starting late at 40, you probably need to target 20 to 25%. That sounds painful, but reframe it. Every dollar you invest today isn't just a dollar. With 25 years of compounding, it could become $2 or $3 in real purchasing power. You're not depriving yourself. You're paying your future self first. Now let's talk about where the real leverage is. Because the internet loves to obsess over small daily expenses while ignoring the decisions that actually move the needle. Housing eats the biggest share of most people's income. If you're spending 40 or 50% of your paycheck on rent or a mortgage, saving aggressively becomes almost mathematically impossible. Relocating to a lower-cost area, renting out a spare room, or downsizing might not be glamorous, but these moves can free up hundreds of dollars a month instantly. Transportation is the other silent killer. The average new car payment has climbed past $700 a month. That vehicle loses value every single day while draining cash that could be building your future. A reliable used car gets you everywhere a new one does at a fraction of the cost. And then there's income itself. This is the lever with unlimited upside. Cutting expenses has a floor. You can only reduce so much. But your earning potential has no ceiling. If you haven't negotiated a raise recently, if you haven't explored switching companies, if you haven't invested in skills that increase your market value, you're leaving significant money unclaimed. Data consistently shows that strategic job changes can deliver 10 to 20% salary increases compared to the 2 or 3% annual bumps most people get by staying put. Here's the other thing that shifts when you start building even a small cushion. Your negotiating power transforms completely. When you're broke, you accept whatever offer comes along because you can't afford the gap. When you've got a few months of expenses saved, you can walk away from bad deals. You can hold out for what you're actually worth. Financial stability doesn't just change your bank account. It changes your leverage in every professional conversation you have. One more thing I need to warn you about, because this trap catches people right when they start making progress. Lifestyle inflation. You land a raise or a better paying job, and 6 months later, you're somehow still saving the same amount as before. The extra money vanished into a nicer apartment, a newer car, more subscriptions, more dinners out. This is how people earning six figures end up living paycheck to paycheck. And the data shows it happens more often than you'd think. If you're playing catch-up, every raise and every bonus needs to be allocated before it hits your spending account. Automatic transfers to investments and debt paydown. Your priorities get funded first, not your impulses. Let me leave you with this. Turning 40 is not a deadline you missed. It's a signal. It's the moment where you either get intentional or you let another decade drift by on autopilot. The people who end up financially secure at 60 and 65 aren't always the ones who started perfectly at 22. They're the ones who woke up, got brutally honest about their situation, and started building with whatever they had, even when it felt late. You have more runway than you think. The next 25 years can look nothing like the last 25. But that only happens if you start now and stay consistent. Stop measuring yourself against someone else's highlight reel and start running your own race. If this gave you clarity or lit something under you that needed lighting, hit subscribe. I'll keep making these so you've got someone in your corner breaking it all down. I'll see you in the next one.